The death of Pope Francis today, April 21, 2025, intriguingly within the Catholic celebration of Easter, invites a profound examination of its place within the tapestry of biblical prophecy and ecclesiastical history. Central to this analysis is the historicist interpretation of apocalyptic texts, which identifies the papacy as a key player in eschatological narratives. The books of Daniel and Revelation provide a symbolic lexicon, the little horn from Daniel chapter 7 verses 8 to 25, the beast from the sea in Revelation chapter 13 verses 1 to 10, and the 1,260-year prophecy found in Daniel chapter 7 verse 25 and Revelation chapter 12 verses 6 and 14 form the bedrock of this framework. The 1,260 prophetic days, interpreted as years, as seen in Ezekiel chapter 4, verse 6, and Numbers chapter 14, verse 34, mark the period of papal dominance from 538 AD, when Emperor Justinian's decree solidified papal authority, to 1798 AD, when French General Berthier deposed Pope Pius VI, inflicting the deadly wound mentioned in Revelation chapter 13, verse 3. This era symbolized the papacy's fusion of spiritual and temporal power, characterized by persecution of dissenters and doctrinal hegemony. Ellen White's The Great Controversy underscores this period as a fulfillment of Daniel's vision, where the saints were given into his hand. Revelation chapter 13 verse 3 foretells the healing of the beast's mortal wound, a prophecy interpreted as the papacy's resurgence. The 19th and 20th centuries witnessed this revival through Vatican I in 1870, reasserting papal infallibility, and the Lateran Treaty in 1929, restoring temporal sovereignty. Ellen White warned that the papacy would regain global influence through political alliances and ecumenical strategies, positioning itself as a moral arbiter in a fractured world. The passing of Pope Francis intersects with these prophecies in multifaceted ways, echoing historical precedents while illuminating future trajectories. The historical parallels, from Pius VI to Francis. The captivity of Pius VI in 1798 marked the lowest point of papal power, yet his successors, notably Pius IX and John Paul II, orchestrated a resurgence. Francis's death mirrors pivotal transitions. 1798, Pius VI's exile symbolized the deadly wound, aligning with the end of the 1,260 years. 2025, Francis's simplified funeral and burial at Santa Maria Maggiore, breaking centuries of tradition. Instead of the traditional burial in the Vatican grottos, Francis has chosen to be buried in the Basilica of Santa Maria Maggiore, a major basilica dedicated to the Virgin Mary, reflecting his deep devotion. This is an attempt to demonstrate an impression of departure from tradition, but it underscores the papacy's enduring adaptability and the significant role that Mary will play in end-time deceptions. Viewing this event from Ellen White's framework, a church silently growing into power. Ellen White's writings anticipate a final conflict where the papacy collaborates with secular powers to enforce universal religious norms, particularly Sunday observance as a counterfeit Sabbath. Francis's ecumenical outreach, emphasis on social justice and calls for a new world order resonate with her warnings of a church seeking to regain control of the world. His death will accelerate efforts to unify fractured Christendom under a single platform, a precursor to enforcing end-time decrees. His death during Easter cannot be overlooked as a great opportunity to unify the focus and interest of many Christians, non-Catholics included, to align with the papal agenda. Biblical analysis, the eschatological papacy and final crisis, the mark of the beast and Sabbath Sunday conflict. Revelation's mark of the beast, Revelation 13, 16, 17, is inextricably tied to worship mandates. The fourth commandment's Sabbath, Exodus 28:11, stands in opposition to Sunday observance, a tradition historically endorsed by papal authority. Ellen White identifies this as the ultimate test of loyalty. The Sabbath will be the great test of allegiance, for it is the point of truth especially controverted. Francis's legacy of interfaith dialogue and environmental encyclicals calls for Sunday rest, for example Laudato Si, and has subtly reframed Sunday as a universal day of rest and worship, aligning with ecological and social agendas. History has taught us that the death of an advocate has always given great force to the advancement of his message. Pope Francis has given the greatest advocacy of all popes in recent history for Sunday sacredness. We can be sure his papal agenda did not die with him. If anything, his death will be used to advance it. The second beast and global enforcement Revelation 13 second beast, interpreted as the United States, exercises all the authority of the first beast, Revelation 13:12, enforcing its decrees through economic sanctions and legislative coercion. The convergence of Francis's moral authority with rising global crises, climate collapse, migration, and technocratic governance will eventually activate a coalition of religious and political powers to impose Sunday laws, fulfilling White's vision of the time of trouble also mentioned in the Bible. Ellen White's prophetic expectations and modern realities, the deadly wound healed, a resurgent papacy. Ellen White's The Great Controversy envisions the papacy's restored influence through miracles and diplomatic skill. Francis's canonization of populist saints, diplomatic interventions like, the Ukraine peace efforts, and alignment with the UN's Sustainable Development Goals really exemplify this strategy. His death will compel successor popes to amplify these efforts, positioning the Vatican as a mediator in global conflicts. The final deception, unity at the cost of truth. Ellen White warns of a counterfeit unity where Protestantism stretches her hand across the gulf to clasp the hand of Romanism. Francis's ecumenical initiatives, such as the 2020 Fratelli Tutti, foster interfaith collaboration but risk diluting doctrinal distinctives. Again, his seemingly well-coordinated passing on Easter will accelerate efforts to unify churches under a shared eschatological mission, marginalizing Sabbath keepers as dissenters, terrorists. The death of Pope Francis is not merely a historical footnote, but a hermeneutical key to understanding the times and seasons, 1 Thessalonians 5:1. From the ashes of 1798 to the globalized papacy of the 21st century, the threads of prophecy weave a coherent narrative, the papacy's resilience, its alliance with secular powers, and the impending clash over divine law. Ellen White's admonition resonates: the last great conflict between truth and error is but the final struggle of the long-standing controversy. As the world mourns Francis, the faithful discern the signs of the times, preparing for the final act in the cosmic drama of redemption. The death of Pope Francis does not occur in a vacuum. It is a moment of significance, embedded within a larger eschatological framework. To fully grasp its implications, we must examine both prophecy and history. History reveals that the deaths of certain popes have marked pivotal shifts in the trajectory of the Roman Church and its global influence. For example, Pope Pius VI in 1798, his death in exile symbolized the deadly wound, Revelation 13:3, fulfilling the 1,260-year prophecy. Pope Pius IX in 1878, his reign saw the declaration of papal infallibility in 1870, a critical step in the healing of the wound. Pope John Paul II in 2005. His funeral became a global spectacle, reinforcing the papacy's revived authority. The passing of Pope Francis will follow this pattern, not as an end, but as a transition into a new phase of religious political consolidation. Ellen White's admonition rings urgent. We are standing on the threshold of great and solemn events. Prophecy is fast fulfilling. The hours of probation are fast passing. Maranatha, page 200. The most critical question surrounding Pope Francis's death is not merely who succeeds him, but how his legacy shapes the enforcement of end-time religious mandates.